Greetings, vloggers, followers, and potters. Dustin here from Dustin's Dynasty here at you again with another edition of this week's vlog. Today we're going to talk about happiness and finding happiness and how I found happiness after several years of being in what I have learned is finally in a small way is being in the trauma pit and rebuilding myself from where I had left off in a very long time. I was at a level where it was at a meager level, and then I dropped down even further. And it took 2 years to build myself back up to where I am today. But first, I want to get into a few announcements. And finding happiness and how I found happiness after several years of being in what I have learned is finally in a small way is being in the trauma pit and rebuilding myself from where I had left off in a very long time. I was at a level where it was at a meager level, and then I dropped down even further. And it took 2 years to build myself back up to where I am today. But first, I want to get into a few announcements. So, as you know, the sound and microphone issue is still going on, and today, as I report, I am 10 days on my medicine. Tonight will be 11. So we're about a third of the way there, and hopefully by then I'll be working on the progress of getting a true dedicated podcasting, vlogging microphone for my device. So I'm excited about that, and I'm excited that I've been keeping up with my medication for 10 almost 11 days. That is a long step for me. I really haven't been posting on TikTok lately, and I'm hoping once things calm down where I can better manage my mental health, that I can get back on air soon. Okay, another announcement is the timestamps. Last week I did not realize I did a pretty lengthy video, and I did not put timestamps in to make the ease of navigation possible. I know there's some lengthy videos the last few weeks, and I'm going to work on putting those timestamps in for you. Lastly, I want to note that with the fall of Twitter, the possible fall of Twitter, I should say, it's a Twitter 2.0, as they say, with the massive exit yesterday and into today. I am working at putting our daily news feed that I put on there of the different articles that I feed with autism awareness and acceptance and everything else autism related. All my autism alerts and news will now be posted on my blog under Autism News, in the category of Autism News, which I will have a link later on to include that, so that that is included daily into my weekly feed, in my daily feed, and the same information is pressed on without having to use the Twitter platform. But however, until Twitter does, if it does shut down, and until then, I think it'll be the news feed will be shared. The posts that I put on my blog will be shared to Twitter as blogs and podcasts and vlogs have been shared in the past. Additionally, I think it was feeling too much for the people the 15 or so followers that have my e-blast every week. I think having it was too much in my e-blast with all the news highlights. So now that will ease that issue too by having the daily digest of autism news sent out every morning, and then having just a link to that category on my blog, so that it just simplifies the e-blast, which I always encourage you to visit my link tree so that you can figure out how to sign up for that, or just visit my blog at DustinDynastyUSA.com, and you'll see that come up in your feed. You can sign up for anything, and of course still follow the old-fashioned way on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So I know I did the Dustin's Dynasty, of course. I'm sorry if you haven't liked, and so I just want to start with those social introductions first, because that's what we're highlighting up. And I do want to say that Twitter in social media has been a highlight today, so I just thought I'd bring that to mind. With that being said, I think that's all the announcements I have as far as my weekly vlog goes. So without further ado, we'll get into the talk of happiness. Now, I was interrupted previously when I started the last recording because we have a snow skull ring today, and I've never had one in my life. I don't think, at least I cannot recall. I'm in my 30s, and I've lived in the same area where I've lived all my life. But I'm in southwestern Pennsylvania, outside of Pittsburgh, and we have one today, heading our way from West Virginia, which I thought it was very weird, but nonetheless, we are here in a moment, and we're going to talk about how, for a long time, and I do mean a long time, I think all throughout my life, because I was pointed out that things I was always called out on my faults and called out on my issues in life and everything that I was doing wrong, and nothing was positive based or positive encouraging. I always feel that I was called out on my faults, and as such, I had a lot of self-stigma, a lot of unhappiness about me. And in fact, I still do to some point, but it's slowly increasing to where the point was where I can actually finally, as a man in my mid-30s who's autistic, live my life as who I want to be in a safe and caring manner, because I can be who I truly want to be, and be in the sense that, I'm accepting everything about me, all my realms, and even my autism. So I think, just being autistic, I think that's just, accepting that as well and making accommodations and do with that. Even with the ADHD, if you would see my desk right now, you would see that I have written several notes from a workshop that I had attended today. And I just want to pull out a quote here if I can find it. I'm going to post it on the screen here. I'm going to photograph it on the screen, but I want to tell you what the graphic says. A graphic said that I learned. Happiness is not a destination, it's a method of life. And I think that is something that I had to learn, recently in the journey of self-discovery, self-awareness, limiting self-stigma, constantly living with anxiety. And I never thought until I learned, that something, not only my autism diagnosis, but only my anxiety and living in fear and having to second guess every move. I think when you live with all these comorbidities with being autistic, including, having anxiety on one end and having ADHD or being neurodivergent and having the anxiety, which is a common factor in many, it takes a lot of energy out of you. It doesn't only take a lot of energy out of you as an autistic person, but it also takes a lot of second guessing, a lot of questioning yourself, a lot of feeling sorry for yourself, or questioning that you're going to be judged, stigmatized, ostracized, all of these wonderful things. And, I think sometimes we doubt ourselves quite often, if you will. I think I constantly doubt myself if I'm doing good enough. We just passed the 2-year mark of living here in my independent living situation. And I didn't quite make 2 in the last one. And it always constantly makes me think, am I getting kicked out of here? Am I doing something wrong? I'm always worried that I'm doing something wrong. And I think that is a lot of behavior that I've learned in my life. It's not so much with being happy, and maybe we won't even title the vlog being happy, but it is constantly worrying that I'm doing something wrong. My brain is constantly telling me as an autistic person that I am doing something wrong with my life. That nothing ever can be right. And it used to be really bad. Like I could never feel that I did anything right in my life. Like nothing could ever be right, and I always feared, criticism or judgment or shame. I felt these great myriad of emotions, and until recently, I don't think I even thought of them as emotions or even just expressions or emotions or truly who I am, in any sense. I think I've just put them on the back burner, and never really understood that what I was feeling was normal, and it's part of the journey of mental health recovery, not only with being neurodivergent, but also the journey of mental health recovery and learning and growing and being who I am. And it's sad that I had to, I wouldn't say waste, but understand, that I had to learn that for myself. And I think always judging and always thinking about being wrong kind of ties into being happy, because I think we always worry or always judge or always shame always question, or always feel bad for it. We always wonder if we're doing anything wrong. I think that's why we feel so unhappy sometimes as autistic people. At least I do. I always feel like I'm never going to be happy enough. I'm never going to be good enough. I'm never going to be this. I'm never going to be that. And it's self-stigma. All of those things boiled into one thing. You always constantly think you're doing something wrong. You're not good enough. All this self-shaming. And that could be the title. We could name it many things, and I'll come up with a name in the title of the blog. But I think, we start with talking about being happy, but I think when we delve into really what the purpose and the finding of why I wasn't happy for so long, and that may be the title, is the fact that, I have all these roller coaster of emotions and learning how to work from it, how to work recovery, and how to work, being who I am, and how to work accepting my autism and understanding the lives. As you see, now in my YouTube, I'm not sitting solo all the time. I'm sitting back. I'm stimming. I'm moving. I need that movement. I need that fluctuation. I think that's key in a life of an autistic person, is to be accepting and loving and be in your space. I think that, I think having that ability to have my safe space to be who I genuinely want and have and can be is something that really opens up the door to so much possibility for me, feeling liberated and feel happy about, who I am and accepting who and what and all that business. I think so long in life, I've always worried, am I going to do this wrong? Am I going to get in trouble? Am I going to get suspended from school? Am I going to lose my post-secondary opportunity? Am I gonna, not fail the driver's test? Am I gonna lose my job? Am I going to get in trouble? Am I going to get written up? And I think I worry so much. And as time goes on in life, I think it's not so much with some situations, but it is. I see as I begin to learn and grow, I begin to feel more comfortable with things as time goes on. And eventually I do become comfortable. And at times I become too comfortable where I feel like I still judge things, but I have to know there's time to move on in life and have an understanding of the greater good and the greater understanding of things. I think that sometimes I second guess myself all the time, being neurodiverse with ADHD and autism and having anxiety, a side of anxiety, as I call it, because you're always, when all those things factor into one thing, you hear a sound, you knock on a door, you hear a knock on the door, you're always worried. Is it going to be you? Is it going to be you that's going to be in trouble? Is it going to be something that you're going to be, are you losing something? Is it going to be another bad instance? And I think coming up on the 2-year anniversary of living on my own, and it's actually 2 years, we're going into a good, next year, and hopefully a good time, of all this discovery with the medication and understanding. But in all sense, with the medication, it helps me manage the symptoms better, but it still have some of the second guessing there. It's just not as intense as it was when I wasn't taking the medication, and a lot of the behaviors and the physical symptoms were not there. But that's a whole other point. That's maybe a whole other explanation when it comes to, explaining that whole process of, medication and how that helps me, and accepting that medication is a part of my life now. And I know it's only been 11 days, but I feel like it's something I'm accepting now. It's like today the computer needs to restart. And normally I wouldn't say that we restart on a Friday night, but now I have to deal that I have to go to bed by midnight tonight. And that's a big step for me, because normally I would I would have either restarted the computer right away and just let it do its thing. But personally, setting that reminder that it needs to reboot at 12 midnight reminds me that I need to be in bed by 12 midnight so I can start my next day. Even though, the weather is kind of frightful here in Pennsylvania today, and I may not have anything to do the next day until later in the day, but I feel like I can live the life I want. And as such, being happy with my life and not worrying about getting in trouble for things is also contemplated on having a sense of autonomy and independence and being an adult. making adult decisions like ordering a pizza or watching a movie or even going to bed at midnight. All of those things were, and as far as going to bed at midnight, I did that last night. And I got up around 6 or 7 this morning, not quite sure on the time, but anyway, I had a nice sleep and it paid off well. So I think sometimes we second guess ourselves as autistic people, and we constantly judge. We always feel like we're being judged, shamed, ostracized, what have you, but we don't take things and give it a chance. And I'm not saying that those things are not possible, because there are indeed families that there are people or artistic people who live with those families who constantly judge, ostracize. Helocopter, and I think that's another thing too. Like my mother, I love her to death, and she is doing nothing wrong in my life, but she has been such a helicopter to me in my life that it's sometimes hard to break free and feel that independence that she is slowly letting me have, and I am showing her the trust that I can have. So I think it's just learning and building and understanding all of those great things in life and growing your independence and letting it be. But I still have this sense of fearing of doing something wrong, because even as ordering a pizza could be something wrong, even though you feel you could get in trouble. But it's just it's a unique and weird conundrum. But once you feel free, you can get. And I still have it. I mean, there's parts where you hear noises or you hear sounds or you second guess or you see something and you second guess yourself all the time. And part of being autistic is you constantly worry. You have an inner thought, and then you have the real thought, and that just sets you up even more intensely. Then understanding the social concepts of the world is never easy for us as autistic people or neurodivergent people. We're constantly trying to run the social gamut and understand how could things be, or how could things work? Are they talking about me? All these things, all of these masters of things. So, it's just all the fun things about life. And it's challenging. Yes, it's challenging and it's hard. And it really drags you down sometimes. And having to run a social gamut and understand things, along with having to do life's activities, can sometimes be very boggling. In fact, I did a lot of that, having to run a social gamut at 2 stores and work on Tuesday, and I slept for 2 hours. And I fought a battle for about a half an hour whether to take my medicine or not. But you know what? I took the damn medicine. And I hate to speak blunt and say it like that, but it took a lot of courage to do that, because normally I would have just slept it off and got up and been in a bad place for the rest of the day. Next day, same thing. I had more of a social gamut, but I relaxed when I got home. I fell asleep for a little bit. But you know what? I thought about it was only 10 minutes, but I took the medicine again. And I got up and I enjoyed life. So, I think it's all in what you make it for being happy, but it's more about second guessing, what you do in life, and, constantly living in a sense of fear or fear of being judged. And it's a constant battle. And I think nobody really understands it until you're neurodivergent or understand your neurodivergent, or I think you have neurodivergent tendencies where you're constantly second guessing or worrying and having, and for me to finally come to terms with the fact that, being neurodivergent and having autism and other challenges is a very, very complex thing. And wondering how I manage life as a person, getting through things. I think it's a challenge of understanding and accepting who I am, and just being so happy for once, and being understood, and accepted for who I am. So with that being said, I want to thank you. Again, I did some of my socials in the beginning of the vlog, but I will go through them again. So as I said, the news things are on Dustin'sDynastyUSA.com. They'll be posted once a day, starting today and tomorrow, and throughout. And if you haven't followed me on my social, please be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, as long as it exists, and Pinterest at Dustin's Dynasty. I'm on TikTok at Dustin's Dynasty ASD. I haven't really posted any new content, but you're more than welcome to look there if you feel it should be. And lastly, be sure to like, and subscribe to this video. So I want to thank you for that, and I want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving if you haven't watching this on Thanksgiving. I know it's the week before Thanksgiving. Our e-blast will be our e-blast will be released for Wednesday night at 5 o'clock, around 5 o'clock. After the 5 o'clock post release. Thursday's post next week, blog and podcast and blog post will be released at 5 o'clock on Wednesday night because it's Thanksgiving and I'd like to rest, to take some time for some self-care next week. So if you want to sign up for the e-blast, be sure to visit my Linktree, and my handle on Linktree is Dustin Dynasty. So if you if you want to have an e-blast, and I'm sure it's become condensed now, it's being delivered to my inbox, feel free to do that too. And with that being said, I want to thank you for listening, and be sure to have a good weekend and a good Thanksgiving. Bye for now.